On the sultriest days of a Calcutta summer, bath time arrives with the tide.
It's off the Ganges River. When there is a high tide, this water automatically starts flowing. And that's the time when children and the men usually come here to take their bath.
Across much of Calcutta, keeping clean is a communal experience. Many homes in one of the world's poorest and most crowded cities still have no running water. Only the remnants of an age when India was the jewel in the crown of the British Empire.
Britishers have laid the water line, the pipeline from the river Hooghly to different pockets of Calcutta. And the localites have done a kind of a tank here, reservoir, where this water can be stored and can be used for bathing and cleaning purposes.
If Calcutta is known for anything outside India, it is the desperate poverty that grips the city firmly in its unwelcome embrace. Generation after generation live out their lives in the city's slums, sheltered in shanties that provide little escape from the elements, let alone the daily invasion of hunger and hopelessness. Niraj Agrawal has seen it nearly every day since he got involved in relief work right out of college.
Poor living conditions is the problem here. Even if they are able to earn, amount to be able to eat 2 times a day. But the living conditions out here are really poor, no sanitation, no ventilation, and that's the way why they are so deprived, and these are very unhygienic and very inhuman conditions to live. And you see the children, some of them do not even have proper clothes to wear.
It is these neighborhoods, these children, that Americans have come to know through television appeals to their better selves. We have all heard them. They introduce us to a child, tug at our collective conscience, and assure us that for far less than $1 a day, we can give that child the gift of a future. This is one of the places where our conscience gets its commands.
Over here right now we have the sponsored children writing their welcome letters to the sponsor.
On the floor of Children International's Calcutta Service Center, children from some of Calcutta's poorest families work on letters to friends they have never met.
Once the sponsor writes to the child, then the child in reply to that gives another letter to the sponsor. Whether sometimes we have the sponsor sending photographs of himself or herself, of her or his house, of her children, of her pets. In reply to that, the child sends whatever likes, whatever questions the sponsor has from the child. This is generally what happens between the child and the sponsor, and it happens over the year.
Some of the children are too young to write letters. Instead, they color pictures or have a parent or relative write on their behalf. 9-year-old Mohammed Raz answers questions about his life from a social worker, helping him respond to someone who sends money every month to help support Mohammed and his family, and wants to know more about them.
Some of the questions are like what he does when he's at home. So he has answered when he's at home he loves to play cricket, he loves to study English, and sometimes he helps his mom in doing household work.
Children International is an American-based charity, and if a sponsor wants to check up on the child he is supporting,
lives in a small house with 1 room. There's 9 people in this house.
The file room is the place to start.
We also have a date of birth proof of our sponsored children, which is very important for us to validate the child that we are sponsoring or proposing to be sponsored is within the age group that he or she should be.
Skepticism has become a common reaction to appeals for assistance. Just ask any sponsor. Any sponsor like Rustam Sengupta, a UCLA graduate student back home in Delhi on vacation. Rustam lives on a modest fellowship stipend. Still, he wanted to sponsor a child, and he didn't want to get conned.
So many people have gone through this phase. Many people have paid money, and not got their money's worth. Many of them. And they tell other people, and the word spreads, and the skepticism rises.
So I'm just checking the date, looking for something around 94, 95.
World Report asked Children International for complete access to its files, so we could choose some sponsored children at random to see what benefits they were actually receiving from the monthly checks sent by their sponsors. Many agencies that claim to act in the interest of both the sponsors and the children they support know that they will never receive a visit from someone demanding to see how their money is being spent.
We are going to make a few home visits.
But Children International has no problem taking us to the homes of the children we asked to see.
Well, we are visiting Mohammad Aurangzeb, one of the sponsored child. Mohammad Aurangzeb is 7 years old.
This is Mohammed's neighborhood, a maze of alleys filled with large families and small houses.
And there's share common facilities, common drinking water source, common latrines, and common places to cook their food.
Many of the men who live here are daily laborers, performing chores like bundling medicine packages. Typically, the few dollars a day they earn must feed a lot of mouths.
We have two sponsored children from this family, Mohammad Aurangzeb, this one, Mohammad, come here. And we have another, his younger brother, Mohammad Shehnawaz.
The two Mohammeds live here with 7 other family members, all sharing the same small room. Stashed away for safekeeping are some of the precious gifts the brothers have received from Children International sponsors.
This was the hygiene kit that they got. She's just taking things out from there. The Children International's hygiene kit, a bag which contains materials for day-to-day use.
Besides buying basic hygiene items, the money spent by sponsors goes for things like school supplies and more.
The children were given mosquito nets and woolen garments. Now, as part of birthday, they are given multicolored clothing, a raincoat, and footwear.
These are things that the children can use, but would probably have to do without, were it not for a few dollars a month sent from someone they have never met.
She said that she would have to spend a lot of money in buying these things for the family, but now she has got them free of cost. She has been able to save some money, which would have otherwise been spent on the hygiene items, on mosquito nets, or on raincoats, or on dresses.
For Mohammad Aurangzeb and his brother, having a sponsor may mean the difference between staying in school and being forced to help their father earn enough money to provide for the family. Suddenly, a few pennies a day seem less like a way to make a sponsor feel good and more like a sound and substantial investment in the future of a family. When World Report continues, a visit to the countryside to meet a child who met his sponsor. There is a village outside Calcutta where the crowds and congestion of the city disappear.
Yeah, it's really good to come here, with fresh air, a lot of, greenery around us.
For Niraj Agrawal, this visit is about more than taking a break from Calcutta. Niraj is looking for a boy named Shaiful Sheikh.
Shaiful is 10 years old and he has a younger sister. Father does selling business of green coconuts, and his monthly income is approximately $22.
This is the very village where Children International located its first Young People for Humanitarian sponsorship back in 1989. And today, one of them has seen the logo on the vehicle that dropped Niraj in the village.
Sulekha Sardar, one of our sponsored youth, she is 18 years old now. She recently completed her grade 10 examination and she has been in the program for the last 15 years.
For Indian women, especially in rural areas, education has historically come in second to getting married and raising a family, usually at an early age to relieve her parents of the burden of her care and the school fees required for her education.
Class 5-6
Okay, very good. We asked Sulekha, had she not been sponsored, would she be able to
complete her grade 10 examination, and she said no, it wouldn't have been possible for my father to afford my schooling. I would have completed till maximum grade 5 or 6 when education is mostly free in our country.
Children International started with a few children in this village. Today, the agency serves more than 25,000 children in the West Bengal region of India.
And this is Shaiful Sheikh, the sponsored child.
Not that long ago, Shaiful and his family had another visitor, Shaiful's sponsor.
And the kid was very shy when I first met him. Like he really did not want to interact, but all these people really wanted him to because I'm the sponsor and he's supposed to be nice to me. But he was just behaving like a normal kid, which is so good.
In some ways, a meeting between a sponsor and a child can be pretty awkward for both. When Rustam Sengupta met Shaiful Sheikh, naturally he wanted to see how his donations were being put to use.
Like the funny part was when I asked them like, what all have they given you? Just show me. So they got out all this stuff and some of it was new. So I kind of like, maybe Urmila told you, I was like, why is it new? I mean, you're supposed to use it. They don't give you stuff to like keep it in the shelf and wait, like look at it and be happy.
When people who have never had anything suddenly receive something, often their first reaction isn't to use it, but to save it. And in villages like this, many people are used to having nothing. No running water, no electricity. In remote villages like this, it can be tough to make a sponsor's dollar stretch as far as possible. There are transportation costs as well as the time involved in sending a field officer here. There is also the unenviable task of explaining to villagers why one of their neighbors' children is receiving gifts, while their own children go without.
They perhaps haven't got a sponsor and, they haven't been that fortunate, I would say. But getting a sponsor makes you really privileged in the community, and at times we feel bad, that one family has, one child has a sponsor, but the neighborhood, there is another child who is equally needy, if not more.
When Shaiful Sheikh got a visit from his sponsor, the toughest part wasn't the envy of other families. It was figuring out how to meet a stranger's expectations.
I kept quizzing the kid like about what he studies in school and all. So initially he was pretty intimidated, but then he realized, okay, this is not a guy from outside space. He's like, so I told him to call me like Dada, which means like brother.
No matter how uncomfortable a sponsor's visit can be, Children International field workers say it is important for the sponsor, the child, and the organization.
Anytime the sponsor, he can come and visit, and he would be quite pleased to see how his support is benefiting the children, because the systems, the procedures are very transparent at Children International headquarters and at the agency level.
Even a brief stop in a village like this opens eyes and minds, whether you've never been to India before or you've lived here your entire life.
Coming from a Western culture, I've lived in Delhi. Delhi is as West as you can get. It's more or less like US. We have all the comforts and everything. And then I've been in US, and when you come and see people who actually don't even have things that you take for granted, like a toothbrush. I get up in the morning, I have my own toothbrush, I have my paste. I don't have to think about it.
For the family of Shaiful Sheikh, this is the season of plenty, at least as plentiful as things will get for this family. With hot weather, demand for coconuts is high.
And this is traditional Indian drink, and it's very refreshing.
Shaiful's father can make as much as $1 a day selling green coconuts this time of year. Still, unless things change, it is unlikely that Shaiful's 7-year-old sister Papia will be able to stay in school beyond grade 5 or 6. Right now, she has no sponsor, but her parents say there is still hope.
She says yes, very much. Like, I don't want to discriminate my boy and my daughter. As Shaiful is important to me, so is my daughter Papia. And I would also like that she studies as much as she can, as much as school interests her.
Shaiful says he hopes to someday leave his village, perhaps even India itself, for better opportunities somewhere else. But his sponsor says he hopes that if Shaiful does leave, he doesn't forget where he came from, or that he was fortunate enough to find a sponsor, while others, every bit as needy, were not as lucky.
My idea is to spread it. I mean, if it was possible, I would have done it for more kids in the same village. So I tried to get it across to that guy, and somehow what's more important is as these kids grow up, they should still feel a sense of belonging to the place. And these are the people who can actually go back and do it like first hand with them.
Actually seeing the place where a donation is put to use is not possible for most of the people who sponsor children in faraway countries. But for sponsors who can go the extra mile, it can be the experience of a lifetime. Something that goes far beyond the regular arrival of a photograph or a letter. Something that imprints a face and a family forever on the pages of the human heart. When World Report continues, finding a formula that keeps costs in check while still providing services for sponsored children. And the equal opportunity of destitution shadows the slums of Calcutta. In the slums of Calcutta's Ward 28.
We are trying to reach out to as many children as we can, but the needs and the children, the population to whom we can reach out to is huge.
Poverty knows no prejudice.
The predominant communities living here cut across all the religions, like we have Muslims, we have Hindus.
Ward 28 is one of Calcutta's poorest districts. It is also where Children International is trying out a model program that could be expanded to the other 8 nations where the agency arranges sponsorships for needy children.
Strategically, we started looking for a place, which would serve as a service area center.
For thousands of sponsored children and their families, it is a 15-minute walk to the service center and the benefits that wait inside. Those benefits include a dental plan of sorts. At the project office in Calcutta, sponsored children put their teeth in the hands of Dr. Somati Tagush, who works in this clinic 3 days a week, seeing 10 to 15 patients a day for relatively simple procedures. Families of sponsored children can also come to the office for basic health checkups and lectures on hygiene and disease prevention. By centralizing services, fewer staff members can handle more cases.
So one field officer manages 1,000 children. And strategically, we are also trying to develop a base of volunteers, community volunteers. Now that's been the strength of this program. Right from the very beginning, we have identified mothers or fathers of sponsored children.
Nidu Oksar is one of those volunteers. For her work in the community, she receives no salary, but plenty of rewards.
She had a very good reply to give. Like, she's saying that 2 of my children are sponsored, and I'm really privileged in that way. And if we as staff members and as staff working for Children International is able to do this job to support the community and look after the needs of the community here, why can't I also give a few hours every day?
In Ward 28, people separated by ethnic and religious backgrounds are united in squalor. Still, this is predominantly a Muslim neighborhood.
So we are dealing with 5,000 children, and among 5,000 children, there are 80% are Muslims and 20% are Hindu.
Ward 28 is shadowed by high levels of unemployment and low levels of education, except for children fortunate enough to have a sponsor.
She is Zahida and she is Asiya. Zahida is 11 years old now and Asiya is 10 years old.
Zahida and Atiya have sponsors whose donations make it easier for them to remain in school. Their oldest brother had to drop out because their parents can't afford his tuition fees. Illiteracy is one of Ward 28's most enduring legacies, despite the fact that books seem to be almost everywhere.
This is book binding. This is one of the places where the books are binded together.
Assembling the pages of children's books is one of the few industries here. But reading these books is a privilege reserved for someone else.
We have 2 sponsored children from this house, Afsana and Farzana.
While educating their children is a top priority for parents, they also cherish the more personal gifts that come on a child's birthday, even if those treasures almost never come out of their original wrapping.
Well, she's saying that it's very attractive and very new, and
she doesn't feel like taking it out and spoiling it by wearing it. You know, they're not used to getting such attractive clothing materials and clothes, you know. So once they have got it, it's very difficult for them to take that out and use it on a regular basis. They're not used to it, so she would store it for an important day to come.
The overwhelming majority of sponsors for the Muslim children in Ward 28 are Americans, a fact that some families here find more than a little surprising, given the current view of America in much of the Muslim world.
They are very, shocked, like, is it truth? Like, people from far away, like, they are thinking about our children. So for them, it's very, like, it's amazing.
So,
The files at Children International contain detailed family histories for potential sponsors to consider before they agree to help support a child. Religion is almost never a factor.
I think the more intelligent people become, the more educated they become, they start realizing that these religion and all that, like, they actually doesn't count. And the first thing that we should remember is we're like humans first.
When field officers set up visits for sponsorship applications, they are not scouting for families a sponsor might find religiously acceptable.
Our focus has been, to go and work in the area where the need is the most. And we never go by religion, like we would identify only Hindu belt or Muslim belt or Christian predominant areas. Like we just did a situational assessment in Calcutta, and we found out that Ward number 29 and 28 were the ones where there was a lot of need to come and work, and no other NGO was working in these two wards.
Even with the best intentions and the most honorable motives, many would-be sponsors never get past the skepticism that their money might never reach the children it is supposed to help. Rustam Sengupta felt the same doubts when he started looking into sponsoring a child.
Yeah, you need to be skeptical, but you also need to try, Because, okay, if I suppose had looked at Children International, like so many other people I knew, and they're like, oh, this is bogus, this is like just a bunch of kids' pictures they have got, it's not going to reach anywhere, then I would never. But so you have to take the first step.
That first step led Rustam to take another. Out of his student fellowship stipend, Rustam is now sponsoring a second child and wondering why more people won't sponsor even one.
And there are a lot of people in US who can actually give, because 18 bucks, 20 bucks is nothing. You know that. I mean, you go out for a beer, that's like 7 bucks or 10 bucks in itself. So if I cut down 2 beers of my weekly quota, then I can sponsor a kid, and that's a big deal. That's really something that can be done.
In a letter to a sponsor, there is only so much a child can say.
This is the picture she has drawn, and this is the letter her mom has written on her behalf, because she can't write, she's too young to write.
A single page with drawings and a short note can give only a hint of the reality these children face each day in the slums of Calcutta. When even the most generous donations won't change everything here, what can $15 or $20 a month really do? They can't buy a way out of a one-room house with no plumbing. They can't begin to buy decent jobs or clean water. But for thousands of children, those few dollars can at least provide a down payment on something hard to find in Ward 28 and the rest of Calcutta. A glimmer of hope.